Welcome back. Today, we're diving into something almost instinctual now, isn't it? That
Mm.
little buzz in your pocket, or just the habit of reaching for your phone to check.
Mm.
For likes, social media likes.
Mm.
We've all been there. You post something, and bam, suddenly you really need to know if anyone's noticed, if they've approved. It's this like hunger we want to get under the skin of.
Absolutely. And it's worth remembering just how much time we're spending in these spaces. What was it last year? Something like 3 hours a day on average.
3 hours, wow.
Yeah, and it's not just mindless scrolling, is it? We're actively playing a game, really. A game where the rewards, those likes, those little hearts, they pop up unpredictably. It's a fascinating setup.
It really does feel like a slot machine sometimes. You pull the lever by posting, and you wait. Maybe you get a little win, maybe nothing. And that win, apparently it actually triggers something in our brains.
It does. It's that dopamine hit we hear about. Brain scans, they show activity similar to winning money or even eating something really good. That's the power we're dealing with.
Huh. So it's a chemical reward.
Precisely. And the uncertainty is crucial. That's the intermittent reinforcement schedule psychologists talk about.
Huh.
Because you don't know when the like will come or if it will come, especially after you've, put yourself out there. It makes the checking behavior incredibly compelling, almost addictive.
Yeah, I know someone, let's call her Sarah. Super smart, great job, but she admitted she'd check Instagram like 50 times a day after putting up a photo.
Wow.
And if the likes were slow, actual anxiety, like proper stress. Sometimes she'd even just delete the whole thing. It sounds kind of extreme, but maybe parts of it feel familiar.
Oh, I think it resonates deeply because it plugs into something fundamental. If you look at it through, say, a Freudian lens, you could argue Sarah's displacing a need.
Displacing. How so?
Well, that core human desire for connection, for validation, ideally we get that from real relationships, right? Face-to-face stuff. But here, maybe it gets funneled, displaced onto seeking digital nods instead. We're looking for genuine connection in a place that often gives us, well, a thinner version of it.
Like trying to live on digital snacks instead of a proper meal. That makes sense. And that constant checking, it definitely creates this hum of anxiety underneath everything.
Exactly right. And the fact that the slot machine is always there in your pocket, that constant accessibility just pours fuel on the fire. There's even this term anticipatory anxiety, that itch to check just in case you missed something, some little bit of approval.
Ugh, yeah.
You see parallels with gambling addiction, don't you? The unpredictable rewards, the constant availability. It hooks you in the same way.
The unpredictability.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, that feels huge. You pour your heart into a post or just share a nice photo, and you've got zero idea if it'll get 2 likes or 200. So you keep trying, keep posting. But it's obviously not just the number, is it? It stands for something else.
It has to. The number itself is meaningless, really. It's a symbol, a proxy, maybe, for those deeper needs. Am I seen? Am I accepted? Am I, loved in some small way? That's the hunger. It's a craving for something much more profound.
And the whole ritual around it, choosing the perfect picture, the filters, agonizing over the caption, maybe even timing it for when most people are online. It's a performance.
A performance, exactly. Then the waiting, the watching. And that little ping, that notification, it gives you this momentary buzz, this fleeting feeling of, what? Significance.
Fleeting is definitely the word. It wears off so fast. And then you're right back where you started, needing another fix.
It's a cycle, a validation-seeking ritual that ultimately doesn't really satisfy. And what's interesting is how this mirrors the idea of tolerance in addiction.
Tolerance? You mean like needing more and more to get the same effect?
Precisely that. What felt like a huge rush of validation from, say, 50 likes 6 months ago might barely register now.
Yeah.
You need more, 100, 200. The goalpost keeps shifting.
It's just feeding the anxiety,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The pressure to perform, to be visible, to get more.
Always more. It creates this perpetual state of, well, mild anxiety, a constant low-level hum of, am I doing enough? Am I seen enough?
And the big irony. Social media was sold to us as this great connector, wasn't it? But often feels like it does the opposite. It isolates you.
Mm-hmm.
You're scrolling through everyone else's perfect-looking lives, their highlight reels, getting these tiny digital nods from strangers, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
While actual deep connections might be fading a bit.
That's the paradox, isn't it? A tool designed for connection-fostering detachment. Maybe, from that psychoanalytic perspective, again, it's a defense mechanism, a way to manage the messy, difficult bits of real intimacy by substituting these easier, more controlled digital interactions. You curate a self rather than, truly being with someone.
Wow. Yeah, and it even leaks into real life. thinking, ooh, this sunset would look great on Instagram before you've even just enjoyed the sunset.
Oh, absolutely. The Instagrammability of an experience becomes part of the experience itself. Our memories get pre-filtered through the lens of potential online validation. The like count starts to define the value of our own lived moments.
So what are we really chasing then? Is it connection? Is it just validation, love, or are we just stuck in this loop, basically stimulating ourselves digitally, mistaking those little pings for something real?
That's the core question, isn't it? It certainly feels like we've become entangled. The platforms, arguably, they use us by tapping right into these deep insecurities, these unmet needs, and they profit from it. They create a cycle, temporary relief, followed by a renewed, perhaps even stronger craving.
We're the product feeding the machine that feeds our hunger.
In a way, yes. And if we were to really lean into that Freudian idea, we could see this whole digital landscape, our feeds, as a kind of collective dream filled with symbols.
A dreamscape, okay? So every like, every post, it's not just surface level.
Perhaps not. Perhaps a like isn't just a like. Maybe it's a tiny orgasm of the ego, a momentary release of that underlying tension, that need to be seen, to be affirmed.
Whoa, okay. A tiny orgasm of the ego, that's evocative.
Yeah.
So posting and waiting, that's like what?
You could see it, perhaps controversially, as a kind of masturbating self-esteem. It's autoerotic in a sense, stimulating your own narcissistic libido via the screen. It provides that temporary relief, that soothing, but it doesn't fundamentally change anything or address the root need. It just displaces it.
Right. It distracts you maybe. And that pull, wanting to share, but being scared of judgment.
That could be the classic Freudian conflict, couldn't it? Eros, the life instinct, the drive for connection, battling Thanatos, the death instinct, manifesting here as maybe self-sabotage, the fear of rejection, the drive towards situations where we might be hurt or ignored, psychic conflict playing out in pixels.
In our profiles. The perfect selfies, the curated life.
Pure wish fulfillment, often. Projecting an idealized self, the person we wish we were. But the danger there is, well, ego splitting. A growing gap between the real messy you and the shiny online version.
Which leads straight to compare and despair, I guess. Seeing everyone else's shiny version and feeling inadequate.
Exactly. And Freud might have called that identification with the aggressor. Instead of dealing with our own feelings of inadequacy, we project them outward, feel envy, maybe resentment towards these curated aggressors online. It can even make you feel physically tense, that comparison.
It's weirdly powerful how these old ideas seem to map onto this new technology. Even the stuff we choose to post, like why all the sunset photos or the gym selfies.
Modern-day free association, perhaps. Every choice reveals something unconsciously. Maybe the sunsets show a longing for peace, for closure. Maybe the fitness posts are channeling repressed aggression or anxiety about control. It's all potential symbolic language.
And how we internalize the feedback, the likes, the lack of likes. It feels like it's shaping how we see ourselves now.
Yes, the superego, our internal moral compass, the part that judges us, it's being shaped not just by parents or society anymore, but by this amorphous crowd of online strangers. Likes become approval from this collective digital parent figure. Ignored posts feel like rejection. It creates this moral anxiety, the fear of not measuring up to the crowd's standards.
And our reactions when things go wrong online. Like getting a nasty comment or a post just bombing, the deleting, the blaming the algorithm.
Classic defense mechanisms in action. Deleting is denial, avoidance, blaming the algorithm. That's intellectualization, finding a rational excuse to avoid the feeling. Attacking back, unfollowing people. Pure displacement of anger or frustration.
It's like our whole online life is one big psychological drama. What about things like Instagram stories, those quick disappearing snippets?
A modern keep show, maybe? Satisfying that exhibitionist urge, the need for attention, but keeping it fleeting, maintaining distance. You show, but not too much, and not for too long.
And the sheer addictiveness. Why do we keep checking, even when it sometimes makes us feel worse?
Repetition compulsion. Freud's idea that we unconsciously repeat patterns, even painful ones, trying to gain mastery over them or return to some earlier state. Each post, each check, might be an attempt to finally get it right, to soothe that underlying wound, even if it often backfires.
It also seems to mess with our patience. We want that feedback now.
Absolutely. Temporal regression. The instant gratification loop trains us to demand immediacy. Waiting becomes intolerable. That gap between posting and getting likes creates signal anxiety, a fear that something is wrong if the validation isn't instant.
So it's like our basic human drives, creativity, connection, are getting rerouted, sublimated into chasing likes.
You could argue that. Sublimation, where we channel primal urges into socially acceptable forms. Maybe now it's being channeled into optimizing engagement metrics instead of, say, art or science or deep relationships. The drive is the same. The outlet is digital.
That leaves you feeling a bit uneasy, thinking about our feeds as this collective dream full of symbols we haven't decoded.
It is unsettling. Are we ready to face what someone like Freud might see reflected back at us in our scrolling?
Maybe the really interesting part isn't just the likes themselves, but the gaps, the silence between posting and getting that validation.
Exactly. That space, that void. That's where so much psychological action happens. Posting is an act of exposure, isn't it? You put a piece of yourself out there vulnerable on this digital altar of public opinion. It's like sharing a dream in therapy, but with potentially millions of watchers.
And when the audience doesn't show up, when the likes are slow or non-existent.
That's the rupture. A breakdown in the expected validation. It can feel like a profound rejection, a kind of existential freefall, a challenge to the digital self you've constructed. Your performance wasn't applauded.
So why do we go back? Why post again? If it might lead to that feeling of emptiness.
Yeah, well, perhaps the absence can be as compelling as the presence. Freud talked about our attraction to both pleasure and pain, connection and rejection. Maybe each ignored post is a kind of miniature trauma, a tiny death of the ego that paradoxically demands resurrection through the next post, the next chance for validation. It fuels the dependency cycle.
Could it be that the likes are placeholders for something we missed earlier in life, like unconditional acceptance?
That's a powerful idea. Perhaps that deep, maybe infantile, need to be seen and loved unconditionally, without judgment. Social media cleverly tricks us into thinking that external validation, these likes, can fill that void.
But it can't, can it?
Likely not. In fact, it might just amplify the feeling of emptiness when the digital applause fades or never comes. It highlights the gap between the validation we crave and the validation we receive.
It feels like we've built this whole huge mythology around it all. Influencers as gods, posting schedules as rituals, algorithms as these mysterious forces.
A modern-day mythology, absolutely, right. All centered around the altar of visibility. You could frame it as a kind of collective neurosis, a shared illusion we participate in to mask deeper anxieties or truths about ourselves and our connections. Yet, we can't look away.
Why not? What are we afraid of seeing if we stop?
Perhaps our own raw desires, our loneliness, our neediness, without the digital filter. The irony is stark, isn't it? It promises community but delivers metrics. It dangles connection but emphasizes individual performance. Maybe we project our own loneliness onto the screen, hoping to see it reflected back and somehow feel less alone in it.
It's like a massive global performance piece.
Yeah.
Billions performing, billions spectating, all hoping to be watched.
And from a certain psychoanalytic view, it's a grand theater of narcissism, voyeurism, exhibitionism, the search for meaning playing out in likes and shares.
But sometimes the mask slips, right? The late night rambling post, the accidental story reveal.
Those are the moments the unconscious breaks through. The carefully curated self falters, and something more authentic, perhaps more chaotic, leaks out. Fascinating glimpses behind the curtain.
Here's a really unsettling thought. Have the algorithms become the new superego, shaping our desires, telling us what's good, what's bad, what's worthy?
That's a profound and disturbing question. Are we in a kind of digital Oedipal struggle, trying to win approval from this all-knowing, data-driven authority figure that seems to know us better than we know ourselves, fighting for autonomy against the machine?
So why can't we just log off if it's causing all this anxiety and weirdness?
Perhaps because it's also a mirror and a portal. It reflects parts of ourselves, the needy parts, the performative parts, the lonely parts that we might otherwise avoid confronting. It's messy, it's often superficial, but it's undeniably human in its chaos. The unconscious, Freud believed, seeks expression. It wants to be seen and heard, even if it's through our compulsive digital habits.
So maybe the next time you reach for your phone, feeling that pull, the question isn't just what's new.
Perhaps the real questions are, what am I really looking for right now, and why can't I stop looking?
Right. So wrapping this up, it seems pretty clear that this, like hunger, this obsession, isn't just some trivial modern habit. It runs deep.
Very deep. It's tangled up with fundamental psychological needs, validation, connection, self-worth, playing out in ways we're often not even aware of. It's complex.
But maybe understanding a bit more about these hidden drivers.
Yeah.
That gives us some power back. Helps us see the difference between, real connection and just empty digital calories.
That's the hope, isn't it? Awareness allows for choice. Mindfulness in how we engage, recognizing what we're truly seeking versus what the platforms are designed to provide.
It leaves you with a big thought, though. If all this digital interaction, this constant chasing of validation, it's like a collective dream, what kind of reality are we actually building together? And maybe more importantly, what would it take for us to wake up?
A provocative question indeed. Something definitely to chew on next time you find yourself scrolling.
Definitely. Thanks for this fascinating deep dive.